All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Still Hangover Monday, but still got work to do, still got things to look at. And Pro Football Focus is up. Pro Football Focus, again, they don't get everything right. They don't get everything wrong. They do hard work. A lot of their work is good, and I think it's worth looking at. So that's what we're going to be doing here today in this video. Starting with the offensive side of the ball, let's take a look at their grading. Let's take a look at their scoring here and just see how we feel. See how we feel. So, offensively, starting with this page right here, just the overall grading, you got the guy at the top who kind of is always at the top these days, JSN 75.8, which, well, for one, that's a little bit of a disappointing score for your top scoring player, but it's still very good. And I mean, he's the guy who is unimpeachably doing his job right now. I think that's fair to say. 75.8. He's getting it done. Charles Cross, second place, 73. Really good pass blocking grade. Decent run blocking score as well. Held back mostly by just a penalty. So Charles Cross, feeling pretty good about him as well. And the bronze medal goes to Geno Smith, 68.8. Generally speaking, pretty well scored. And again, I look at something like this, and then I look at my comments yesterday, and 65% of them are complaining about Geno, and then I look at something like this, and I'm just like, I don't understand how we get here. I don't understand how we get here. I got to be perfectly honest. I'm not saying PFF gets everything right, but I do think they have a pretty good feel for quarterback stuff. In fact, I'd say for most offensive things, they're probably pretty good. Their gaps in understanding are probably more on the linebacker and safety parts of football. So, what this tells you is that over the course of this game, over the course of the offensive snaps we had, which was 64, I believe, um, he's putting in work. He's putting in work, and it's not an easy situation to put in work. So, I do take away something from that. DK Metcalf also graded out pretty well. Again, I'm frustrated with him for a couple different reasons. This does, however, indicate to you that overall he's still doing a pretty decent job. I don't know if that job warrants one of the biggest wide receiver contracts in NFL history anymore, admittedly. I think that there is certainly a compelling argument to be made that he shouldn't be, but that's a decision to be made probably this offseason. 67.9, still not bad though, so credit where credit's due. And he did play a good first half. It was the second half when things kind of went off the rails. So I get it. And fifth place, Ken Walker, which is, again, a little underwhelming because Ken Walker, I mean, he did some good stuff in this game, obviously, running the ball, made a lot of catches in this game, which didn't go anywhere, but he can't control everything about those plays. But he didn't have a big impact on this game because he wasn't allowed to because we didn't run the ball enough. How many times did Ken Walker get the ball on a actual running play? Like I think he had 8 carries, I think. 8 or 9. That's really, really frustrating. And that's not to say that Ken Walker didn't do anything in that game that I thought was bad, but I'm almost positive it was a bad idea to not give him the ball. Now, his pass blocking grade does drag him down significantly. That's really, really bad. We'll talk more about that later, but yeah, that's part of the problem here. Maybe it's also part of the problem that Charbonnet was seemingly unavailable for a lot of this game, and as you'll see, he's the one running back on this team that has a respectable pass blocking grade. Now, there's a lot of grades on this chart that I'm going to skip over because they are players that are only listed here because of the fake punt. Like Derek Young, Julian Love, Chris Stoll. So there's nothing there, right? I got nothing to say about one snap. That wasn't even an offensive snap, really. It was a fake punt. So I'm skipping over Julian Love. Noah Fant, decent, which lines up with what I saw. Workable, but not worth the contract, not worth bringing back next year. We can replace his production and replace his play relatively easily, I think. Pass blocking also quite bad, so one-dimensional as a tight end. And he's not even that good at that one dimension anymore. Charbonnet decently scored. Did some good stuff in the passing game. Again, this is why it's so confusing that he wasn't on the field more, given the fact that we were throwing the ball as much as we were, which is why a lot of people think he got hurt and they just didn't say anything. He was in the game later, though, so it implies he got better. I don't know. The whole thing is kind of weird, but decent. Oluwatimi, workable. Unfortunately, according to PFF, his problem was pass protection, and his strength was run blocking. And we didn't run the ball, and we threw the ball a lot. So it's kind of hard to, I don't know, it's hard to feel great about that when the thing that he's supposedly good at, you barely do, and the thing that he's supposedly bad at, you don't do. And then Pharaoh Brown, like average, which for him is fine at this point. That's what he is. All right, I'm skipping over all these players because they played one snap each. It doesn't mean anything. Laken Tomlinson, little below average. Bobo, little below average. Lockett, little below average. A lot of bleh in this area. AJ Barner, Abe Lucas. I don't know how Abe Lucas scored so well last week against Green Bay and then scored so poorly this week. I got to be honest. I know he had a penalty, and that sucks. But to me, he was better this week than he was last week. Maybe I need to rewatch the games. I don't know. But Abe Lucas scoring this poorly in this game and scoring so well in the Packers game, I'm a little bit confused. I got to be honest. I wonder how they got there. McIntosh, pretty poor actually. Mostly, though, because of the pass blocking score. Really, really bad. And again, the guy who can pass protect on this team from the running back position right now is Charbonnet. Overall, he's just the one guy who can consistently do it. And last place by a wide margin is Mr. Lomia. Yikes. Almost as bad as last week. Really not appreciably better, which I thought he was better, and he was. He was better, let's be real here. Let's be serious for a second. But a 30.7, like that tells me there's stuff going on here that isn't readily apparent on initial viewing. So maybe PFF is a little bit off here. I mean, they've been off before, but this tells me there's something going on with Lomia that isn't readily obvious on initial viewing. And I mean, to have another miserable pass protection score as a right guard, I'm not saying he can't be the guy down the road, but in this scenario, he's completely out of his element. Some of it's because he doesn't have great players around him, I'm sure, but a lot of blame to go around, I guess. So even after that game on Sunday, where I felt like the offensive line was passable, you can see how many of the players on this offensive line don't even get graded well. 3 of them below average, one of them really, really bad, one of them bad. Like, can't win. Can't win for losing. All right, Geno Smith's passing chart. I like to look at this every week. You can see how much he used the short middle of the field, which in a game like this makes a lot of sense and is appreciated. But overall, there's nothing too stand out here. He just played a relatively normal game of football, used the intermediate middle of the field a lot, but also went outside the numbers a lot. 6 attempts in the intermediate outside, 3 attempts to the outside right deep. Between the numbers, he went deep twice. And completed one of them for the 25-yarder. And for the most part, he just keeps things around the line of scrimmage, which is about all you can do as a quarterback right now. Very, very little forward headway on these 6 passes in the middle of the field behind the line, by the way. 19 on 6 attempts. Yikes. A little bit better over here, though. 2 for 2 for 20 yards in the behind the line of scrimmage to the right. Real quick, I want to look at the receiving matchups here real quick, mostly for just a couple things. It is, again, notable how JSN moves around and matches up against all kinds of different players and makes plays against pretty much everybody. So, I mean, that's kind of cool, right? Like, he does most of his work in this game on Byron Murphy. So we can sit here and say that, hey, JSN can get it done against a good cornerback because Byron Murphy Jr. is a good cornerback. You can also see how much he moves around, but here's the thing that kind of bugs me. I'm going to scroll way down here. Let me try to find it here. So I looked it up, and Shaq Griffin was in this game for, I think, 27 defensive snaps, somewhere between 25 and 27. We targeted him once, and we had 0 completions on him. Like, that should be something that you're looking to exploit. Shaq Griffin was, for a very short period of time, a good player when he was here, and now he's just kind of playing out the tail end of his career on a Vikings defense that is good, but this is clearly something you should be trying to attack as an offense. We didn't attack him at all. Like, this vexes me. This disturbs me. I don't like it. And look, we did well. The passing game was able to do good things, right? Like, we were able to get things done on guys like Stephon Gilmore, on guys like Byron Murphy, like I said earlier. But how do you go that whole game without completing a single pass on Shaq Griffin when he plays, like, what, 40% of the snaps? I don't know. That bothers me a little bit. Anyway, rushing direction, again, there's going to be so little to look at because we just didn't run the ball anywhere near enough. Left side seems like it worked okay, though. Left guard, which is the gap between Cross and Tomlinson, 5 yards a carry. Middle left, which is between Tomlinson and Oluwatimi, 4 yards a carry. Middle right, which is between Oluwatimi and Lomia, 5 yards a carry. So, seemed like there was some success there, man. You had something going on there, and I guess you decided you didn't really want it. And I guess we'll use this opportunity to skip ahead to the run blocking chart here on PFF, where we can see that, yeah, I mean, there's not much to learn here, again, because we just didn't run the ball enough, but you can see there was more zone than gap. Oluwatimi, 8 zone blocking snaps, 6 gap blocking snaps, which is not really anything that makes a lot of sense after what we saw the previous few weeks, where gap was unlocking our running game a little bit. We were able to actually run the ball successfully with the gap. So I don't know what the thought process was here. All right, finally, let's take a look at the pass protection here. And you can see that there are some bright spots here, for sure. There is some good stuff, but there's also some really bad stuff. And it on the whole, it's just not an NFL. It's not an NFL pass blocking offensive line. Cross, really good. Cross allows 2 hurries. And by the way, I know some people are getting twisted up about how Cross leads the league in allowed pressures this year or something. Of course he does. We throw the ball more than almost any other team. We throw the ball extremely predictably. And we don't use play action. And when we do, it's not particularly effective because teams don't buy it. Of course you're going to give up pressures. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Anybody would give up pressures in this situation. So no, I'm not that worried about Cross's play. I think he's still a really good player that needs to be here a long time. Charbonnet, clean. Barrow Brown, I mean, it's 3 attempts, but whatever. It's the same for Charbonnet. Bobo being listed here is just kind of a punchline, it feels like, honestly. And then you slip into the lackluster. Tomlinson, just kind of okay. 3 pressures allowed as a left guard. I mean, again, he's not in an easy situation, but still very frustrating. Abe Lucas, 2 hits and, 1 QB hit, 2 hurries, 3 pressures total. Workable. Again, life's hard for these guys, but I don't know. Abe Lucas, you'll wonder if maybe he's just going to be a guy who's only going to be good for you like every other week. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting because of the knee. He just needs a week off between games. I don't know. You can see Noah Fant allows a pressure and is 1 pass blocking rep of the game. Oluwatimi allows 1 quarterback hit, I think, on the last offensive play of the game. Played, pretty poorly overall, though. Beyond that, he's probably getting heavily punished for that 1 play, which is understandable. But I'd say other than that 1 play, he played at least passably. And then just look at all this absolute garbage. AJ Barner, 30. Kenny McIntosh allows a pressure, 20. Ken Walker, absolutely getting lit up. I mean, it should not be possible for a running back to allow this many pressures in a game under any circumstance. Really, really bad. And Lomia, despite me watching that game and feeling like he played passably, the numbers in this case really don't lie. And what could be lying is the fact that his teammates aren't supporting him the right way, and it's accentuating his flaws, but 7 total QB pressures from a right guard, really not something that ever needs to happen. So you got 22 total pressures on Geno in this game, which almost half of his dropbacks. So you get what you get. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks.